The Life of Jamie Lee Thrasher. I was born August 28th, 1990 by my mom Teresa and my dad Scott. I'm the eldest of six kids. There's me, Scotty, Becca, April, Justin, and Elizabeth. I grew up kind of normal, had kind of a rough childhood. I met a lot of friends, had heartbreaks, boyfriends, lots of crazy times, lots of memories to remember. At one point in my life, I started cutting and popping pills shortly after a certain person was taken out of my life and put in jail. It took me a really long time to stop cutting until I had Kyrie. But I have a lot of amazing friends that got me through it. I have friends from school all the way out to Canada, and I made some really good friends that are still my best friend to this day. In sixth grade, I met my best friend Tammy, and I was introduced to my Auntie Dar and Uncle Dave, and they helped me through everything. Auntie Dar has always been there for me. In June of 2007, I met the most amazing guy, Randy, and I got to meet his daughter Kiara, and I was really glad to be a part of her life. In October of '08, I dropped out of high school for medical reasons. I was having a lot of bad UTIs and things just really weren't going that well for me. So I dropped out. And about a week later, I found out that I was pregnant with Kyrie. Then on July 22nd at about 7 in the morning, I went into labor. She came out at a whopping 9 pounds 1 ounce. That hurt. She was a big girl. My whole pregnancy, they told me she was really little, so it was really good to see her nice and healthy when she finally came out. She was my guardian angel, and I tell people that a lot because if it weren't for her, I probably would have never stopped cutting, and I probably would have killed myself. I made a really good friend when after I had Kyrie. Her name was Natalie, and her daughter Sarah used to come over all the time. Her, me, and Kelly, we used to hang out a lot with the babies. Shortly after becoming friends with Natalie, when Kyrie was 6 months old, she got really sick, and influenza was going around, and we thought she had the swine flu. We took her to the doctors, and we found out that she actually had an abscess underneath her skin. She had a staph infection with MRSA, and she had to be hospitalized immediately. About 14 hours later, my daughter went for her first surgery, and she had an inch and a half abscess underneath the skin that they had to remove. We were stuck in the hospital for about a week. And Kelly stuck through my side the whole time we were there. She was up night and day making sure the nurses were doing what they were supposed to, and I'm not quite sure where I'd be without her that time. A few months later, Kyrie ended up with pneumonia in both lungs and a double ear infection, and we were back in the hospital for about 2 days. We got to go home. Everything was okay, and then shortly after New Year's, we ended up losing our apartment and we had to go live in a hotel. But even though I was in the hotel, Kelly still stuck by my side, and I was with her almost every day. It was like we were joined at the hip. She really helped with Kyrie, and Kyrie loved her Auntie Kelly. Shortly after, Kiara was taken away from her mom, and we actually got to start seeing her again. They moved back from Louisiana, and we were able to get visitations on the weekends, and she spent a lot of time with her sister, and they really got to bond, and it was really good raising both my girls in the same place. That October, I was working at Cracker Barrel, and I got to take Kyrie out for her first Halloween trip, and we went to the Holyoke Mall, and we got to meet a lot of new friends and just kind of hang out. It was really fun. Not even a week or two after that, we found out that we were getting our own apartment, and that's how I ended up at Sargent Street in Holyoke. It was an amazing place. I absolutely fell in love with the place the first time I saw it. It was really big, and I could just envision everything in my house and how it was going to be and how I was going to set it up, and it was really good. And me and Natalie were friends for a little while after that, and then we just kind of drifted apart. Then there wasn't really a whole lot going on. I was working, trying to get my stuff together, trying to get a car, trying to get my life together. And in, again, October of 2011, I found out I was pregnant with Miss Ava. I was on my way to work. I wasn't feeling good. I decided to grab a pregnancy test, and all three came up positive. After getting pregnant with Ava, I was really wanting a cat. I wanted an animal to like really bring our family together. And my Aunt Liz sent me a message on Facebook saying her aunt had a kitten underneath her porch. Well, when I went, it was a full grown cat. But I wanted to see her anyways, and I bent down and I called her out, and she came over and she snuggled me and kissed me, sort of rubbing her head on my belly, and I had to take her home. She had to be mine. And she fell in love with Kyrie, and she's just the perfect cat. I don't know where I'd be without Boots. She's amazing. Um, why do I keep saying Kyrie? Ava was a really small baby. They kept telling me my whole pregnancy, she's too small, she's too small. I had a lot of ultrasounds done. But we kept chugging along, and Kiara and Kyrie were really excited for Ava to come, especially once I told them what her name was going to be and everything. And it was just great. My pregnancy was really awesome. Kyrie's was a lot harder than this. When I went in to give birth to Ava, I had a hard time pushing her out. I couldn't push enough. I was getting really tired and really dizzy. It got to a point that all the nurses stopped laughing and joking around. Everybody jumped up on me. They started pushing her and pulling and trying everything they could. When you're giving birth, normally they say, I see the head, I can see your crowning. Instead, I heard, I see a hand. My daughter decided she was going to come out like a diva and be like, hey, world, how's it going? And she wanted to show us her little hand first. I found out the hard way I have shoulder dysplasia, which means I can never vaginally give birth to another baby. Um, I make babies too big, and her little body was not really making it out all that well. When Ava came out, she was all bruised, and she wasn't really breathing or doing anything at first, and I just cried for a good 15 minutes until I finally was able to hear my daughter cry for the first time. My mother-in-law was the one who showed me, hey, look, your baby's okay. Look, she's right there. She's fine. And I can remember just looking up and I went, holy crap, how big is she? And they're like, we're on it right now. And they brought in the weigh machine. And I was like, that looks like a 15-pound baby. Come on, she's too big. And next thing I hear is 9 pounds, 4 ounces. I give birth to football players. So Kiara and Kyrie got to come and see their sister the next day. I really needed my rest. I was very tired. I barely had any sleep. Kiara fell in love with Ava the minute she saw her. I mean, she cried when we told her that she had to go back home. It was just an amazing day. I cried when I saw my babies come in and got to meet their sister. It was a really perfect day. After I had Ava, a couple months later, I got reunited with my Thompson family, the Italian side of my family, and they're crazy and they're amazing and they're loud and they're just like me. They totally fit in, and I've never felt like I belonged somewhere so much in my whole life. And we had a lot of memories there, and I can't wait for it every single year. It's the greatest time of the year is when we all get back together. Shortly after that, I needed a job. I had to help Randy take care of these babies and not only have his income, but have one of my own. I got a job as a newspaper deliverer, and I thought that was going to be, fantastic. I thought it was going to be the best thing in my life. And at first it was. My sister helped me a lot, both my sisters, and at the time her boyfriend used to come with us, and we just made it this big thing, and it was fun. But unfortunately, you don't make as much as they say you're going to make, and so I did have to quit. But first, I ended up in the hospital with Ava a lot. She was having a lot of breathing problems. Her O2 stats were never what they should have been. She was coughing a lot. We ended up in the hospital for about 6 hours one night, and they did a bunch of tests and everything, and just come to find out, my poor little one had asthma. So we spent a lot of time in the emergency room until she was about a year old. Shortly after that, I really wanted another kitten, and a friend of mine was giving some away for free, so that's how I ended up with Miss Midnight. Then, I really needed a real job, and my Uncle Chris told me about a job over at Sunoco that he could probably help me get. After he talked to her, I called her up. She says, oh, you already have the job. Don't worry about it. I just need you to fill out the paperwork so I can get you in here. It was awesome. I had a real job, and I was going to make really good money, and it wasn't that far away. It was awesome. I loved working at Sunoco. It was a really good job. I'm really sad I had to leave it. October 15th of 2012, 12th. No, maybe the 13th. No, I'm sorry. October 2013. I ended up with appendicitis. I had to have surgery, and I was stuck in the hospital for 4 days because I couldn't eat. But after 4 days of recouping and the really amazing doctors at the Holyoke Hospital, I was able to go home. My kids got to come and see me, except for Ava because she was sick. So her dad did a FaceTime video with me like a lot, so I could talk to her and stuff. And now I'm living at my dad's house with my sister April and my dad. And my girls love it here. Kyrie's very excited to be living with Grandpa. And I'm not quite sure where I'd be without my dad's help. I really didn't have anywhere else to go. I have amazing friends, Tammy, Cassie, Kelly. They're like my best friends in the whole world, and they completely and totally support me no matter what I do in life. And I went through a lot of changes, some crazy phases with makeup. I don't know why, and just kind of becoming who I am and figuring out who I am as a person. And now I have this like really amazing family. I have a beautiful stepdaughter and my little girls and Randy, and even though we have our problems and stuff, we still love each other and we're still a family even if we're not together. And that's just me and my life.